Hi everybody, I'm Natalie and I'm here today with Misty and it is time for Block of the Month, Spring Dreams Month 6.
I know, I can't believe we're already on month 6. This is so fun.
We're getting very close to
Yes.
the end and this is, I think, one of the most fun months.
I agree.
I'm really excited.
I agree. We get to do a little bit of foundation paper piecing. So if you haven't tried that before, we're excited to walk you through it. It's going to be really fun.
Yep, time for some practice, some skill building.
That's right.
Awesome.
All right, so we have our cute little pouch again. There's
Yes.
our pattern in the front. Let's go ahead and open it up and see what all comes inside. All right.
So we've got our pattern.
There's our pattern, and of course it's going to walk us through all of the fabrics that are included here.
Yep.
And then it's also going to show us where our block is going to go in the quilt, which
Very
we
cool.
love.
And this one we are just making 4 blocks. They go in our outer corners.
Yes.
Which tells us we're very close.
Yep, we're finishing up the middle section of this quilt, which is so exciting.
All right.
And so then we have this beautiful dark blue, our background, and a variety of 10-inch squares.
Yep.
And then, like Natalie mentioned, we have our pre-printed papers.
Yes, our foundation papers, which is great because then you
Yes.
don't even have to worry about getting them the right size. Although, if you wanted to make more, you just print at 100%. And then you're going to take your little ruler and make sure that your 1-inch square matches 1 inch. Then you'll know that the piece that you're working with is the right size.
That's exactly right. And so now we're ready to dive in.
Excellent. All right, well, let's get started with some cutting.
Okay.
We're going to start with our pink square, fabric G.
Let's find
And again,
that.
if you are confused at all about which color is which, you can go back to your Getting Started guide and check out
the
cool
fabric key.
Fabric key, which we use pretty frequently. Kind of an awesome thing.
All right.
Okay, so we are going to start by cutting a 4-inch rectangle off of one side.
Okay, 4-inch strip all the way across?
Yep.
Okay. Got it.
And then we'll cut 4 2.5 by 4-inch rectangles.
Perfect.
And really what we're doing, because most of this is paper piecing, we're just pre-cutting small pieces that we're going to be working with
to make
on
it
our
easier
papers.
on us later.
Yep, that's right.
That's great.
And this will get us all ready so that when we're all done cutting, we will be able to just sit down and put these squares
stitch.
together. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to cut a 1.5-inch strip as well,
Okay.
and then subcut that down into 4 1.5 by 2.25-inch rectangles.
Okay, 2 1/4.
So,
I'm gonna go ahead and trim that off because I should have plenty of room.
yep.
2 1/4. There we go. And you said 4 of those?
Yes.
Okay.
And then this is extra.
Beautiful. And the last one. There we
Excellent.
go.
All right, so now we'll grab fabric H, which is our dark green,
Okay.
and we are going to cut a 5.5-inch strip and a 4-inch strip.
Okay. 5 1/2.
And then these all also get subcut to 2.5.
Okay. 5 1/2 and 4, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Beautiful. And then subcut to 2 1/2.
Yep.
That dark green is hard to see.
It can be, yeah.
Okay. And a couple more. Okay. And this one. Still 2 1/2, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
4 of each. 2.5 by 4 and 2.5 by 5.5.
Perfect. We are almost there. Okay,
Awesome.
got it.
All right, so next we're going to grab our fabric F squares, and these are going to be cut down into 2-inch squares.
Was that our blue?
Yes.
Okay. So I can stack both of those up.
Yep, we only need 2 strips off of one of the squares, so
Okay.
we'll just cut the first 2 and then
then
pull
pull
that
the
top
excess.
and then cut the rest into squares.
Beautiful. Okay.
That way we can serve as much, you know,
Yeah.
and as many larger pieces of our extra.
as possible.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And then get rid of this guy.
Yep. Save it for later.
Yep. Continue with our 2-inch strips across. And trim that down just a little. There we go. And then we can stack these up and subcut them all
Yes.
down into squares.
Perfect.
Okay. And I'm going to live on the edge and just do a big stack.
Do it. I love it.
All right.
Just have to be steady and
Yeah, that's right.
confident with your cut.
That's right. And I am going to trim off that little bit of paint if I can. Turn that
Flip it around.
Yep.
Cool.
There we go. Almost done.
Yep.
There we
Awesome.
go.
Okay, so we have 3 of our fabric D, which is that creamy, buttery yellow.
Yes.
We're going to stack 2 of them,
Okay.
and we're going to do a 5.5-inch cut and a 4-inch cut, and then those are going to be in these same rectangle sizes
Okay.
as our green pieces. So
Perfect.
4
4
by
and
2.5, and then 5 by 2.5.
You got it. 5 or 5.5?
5.5.
Okay.
You are correct.
All
I think
right.
I misspoke
It's
there,
okay.
but
I
that's
just wanted to double
good
check.
to check.
There we go. I'm just gonna
You could stack
Stack
them.
these,
Because
yep.
they're all 2.5-inch strips.
and so then I can cut through and speed it up just a little bit.
That's right.
Okay. And this one looks a little too wide, so we'll
I do love that though, that we have
we
just
have a little bit of
plenty
extra
room. Okay,
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and separate these.
Separate them. Yep.
So the next one, you're just going to cut 1 2.5-inch strip
Okay.
for 4 2.5-inch squares.
Okay, perfect.
And then we are ready to do a few more cuts with our larger pieces. And then we'll get started on the sewing, which is always the fun part.
Perfect.
Although I do happen to be one of those people that I really like cutting.
I do
It's-
too.
It's one of my favorite parts of the process. I feel like we all have little things that kind of
Yeah.
appeal to us, but I like the precision. It's very satisfying to stack it all up in the right sizes.
I agree.
So
I think pressing is my favorite. When things just lay back,
I
it's like,
yes, I like that too because it makes everything feel
Yeah.
very precise and
yeah,
beautiful.
I agree. All right, there we go. Those
Okay.
are ready.
All right, so next we're going to grab our fabric E, which is the dark blue.
Perfect.
We are going to cut a 5-inch strip and 2 2-inch strips.
Okay, let me see here.
So you
Give it a little
you
press.
can press it or go, take a ride on the wild side. But
Yeah.
I feel like when we're cutting long strips,
It's better
making
to be
sure
careful.
that it's folded right. You
Yeah.
can open it up, but you want to make sure you don't have any creases or folds that'll give you those elbows.
Right. And that looks pretty good to me. I am going to clean up this little edge here.
Yeah.
Just, oops, if I can get a hold of my ruler. There we go. Just trim off a little bit so we have a nice straight edge.
Excellent.
Okay, and then what was...
So we need one 5-inch strip,
Okay,
and that gets subcut into 5-inch squares.
okay,
But go ahead and cut the next are 2 2-inch strips,
got it.
and those just get set aside.
Okay.
Then we'll subcut and be
And
ready
go
to
from
go.
there.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
excellent.
And
That's
extra.
leftover.
We set these aside, and these turn
They
into
get
5-inch
subcut
squares.
into 5-inch squares, and then from there we actually also cut them diagonally because
Oh.
these are what we're going to set our foundation paper pieced block on point with.
Okay, perfect.
So they'll be all ready for that.
Makes it easy. Oh, I missed a selvage. It was hiding. That's okay.
Yeah, it'll be in the,
I think I'll
in the
open it up
seam.
so I have plenty to still get all of my squares, you know?
yes, go from the other direction
Yep.
and you'll be okay.
Exactly.
All right.
There we go.
So we need 8 of those.
And the last one.
Excellent.
There we go.
And then
All
go
right.
ahead and just cut one of these in
On
half
diagonal.
diagonally. That way
Okay.
we have all the squares we need to make our block.
Perfect.
Then we
There
can do
we
the
go.
rest later.
All right.
Okay, now it's time for background.
Beautiful.
So that's going to be 2 3.5-inch strips
Okay.
and
Let me
2
see.
2-inch strips.
This one looks pretty good, actually.
Yep, we've been pretty lucky with our cuts. Our
Yes.
yardage cuts have been pretty exact, pretty straight
It's
on.
been very nice. All right. So tell me the sizes again.
2
3.5-inch strips,
Okay.
and then these are going to get subcut into slightly different sizes, but we'll go into that in a minute.
Start with that.
Yep.
Oops, just a little crooked. There we go. Got to make sure everything's straight.
Yes.
Okay, 3.5.
Yep. And you'll need 3 of those.
Okay.
I'm gonna-
Two,
Do my little check marks.
and 3. There we go. Okay.
All right, and then we're going to cut 2 2-inch strips.
Okay. I have a feeling those get set aside with these blue ones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There we go. And there's our extra.
Perfect. Okay, so from one of these 3.5-inch strips, we're going to cut all 3.5-inch squares.
Okay. This little
So we need a
selvage is
total
hiding.
of 16 3.5-inch squares, and we need 14 2 by 3.5-inch rectangles. So we're
Okay.
just going to cut them sort of in a variety. We'll do one full strip, 3.5,
Okay.
and then we'll cut 4 more from the next one, and then the remainder of that strip gets cut into rectangles.
Into rectangles. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I get them folded? Oops.
I think you
I
can.
think I can. There we
Nice.
go.
Got plenty.
Okay, so there's those.
All right.
And then let me press this one because it's a little wonky.
Yeah. It can be difficult to cut
Yeah.
when you've got those folds kind of bouncing back at you.
Yes. And we want everything to be nice and square.
That's right.
Okay.
So
All
then
right.
from this strip, we're going to need 4 more 3.5-inch squares.
Okay.
And since you've got it folded in half, I would just do 2 cuts, and then the
Okay.
rest can be, whoops, sorry.
Into our rectangles.
Yep, 2-inch by 3.5.
Perfect.
And I don't think we've shown the block yet, so let me
Oh,
grab one
good
of
call.
those.
It's so cute.
It is, it really is. So this is the block that we're going to be working on, and I think it's really fun. It's got a combination of regular piecing and foundation paper piecing.
Yes, it's so cute. So
All
these
right.
are, I have already cut one, but these are 2 inches.
2
correct?
inch by
Okay.
3.5.
I
You
just
are
wanted
correct.
to make sure before I
Yes,
made some error.
no worries. Got it covered.
Perfect. And last one.
Very good.
There we go.
All right, and then you'll do the same with this to
Okay.
finish out your blocks. But I think
Yeah, we have
because
enough.
we're working just on one block right now, I think we can move into the construction, and
But that's all
we'll cut that
rectangles.
later. And yes, it would
Okay.
be all 2-inch by 3.5-inch rectangles.
Perfect. All right.
All right, so we are going to
More
start
pieces.
with our corner unit.
Okay.
And that is A. It's a 4-patch.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to start by sewing together our 2-inch strips and then
Okay.
subcutting those into 2-inch segments and
So
sewing them back together.
That's just one of our whites and one of our blues. We went ahead and
Yes.
pre-sewed one of these strips just to save us a little bit of time.
Right.
So we could.
Because that's pretty straightforward.
It is.
And we want to get into like the stuff that is needs a little bit more
That's right.
attention.
And we've
today.
done 4 patches a few times now in this block of the month. So we will just cut these. And how many do we need?
So we will need 4, which means 8 little
of these
segments.
little segments.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So I will get those for us.
All right.
Sorry, they're
No,
hidden
that's
under
okay.
there.
I'll start pressing.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool.
I'm gonna switch to my little ruler.
That does.
It
It is
just
just a
is-
little bit less cumbersome.
Yes, it really is.
I love that.
Okay. How many do I have over there? I've lost
We
track.
have 3.
Okay, so I just need 1 more. There we go.
Perfect.
All right. So do you want me to start sewing those together?
Sounds like a great idea.
All right, so as a refresher, we're just gonna flip those so that we have them in opposite directions and our seams will nest in the middle. And I will just sew these one after the other.
Excellent. I love it. All right, there are the rest of those.
There's those if you'd like.
Okay. All right, so then as she's finishing those up, we can start in on the next part, which will be this little middle block that kind of creates star legs around our focus block.
Super cute.
So these are going to get snowballed corners on the bottom to make those little points. And those are using the Fabric F squares. So we'll line them all up and stitch corner to corner diagonally. You can draw a line or just eyeball it or use your diagonal seam tape.
Okay.
Whatever works best for you, and I will let you chain piece those.
Perfect. One little tip that I realized that Natalie and I both do, but we haven't really talked about, is if you do have that pinked edge and it's not your favorite thing, if you put it on one of these outside edges when you're snowballing,
Oh, it gets trimmed
it
off.
gets trimmed off, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yep.
So we kind of do that naturally, but it's a great little tip if you don't want to have to worry about it after this point.
And the same if you accidentally cut a little bit of selvage in, you know, just put that on the
Yep.
outside edge and it's not really going to be an issue.
Exactly.
So we find little ways to make things work.
Which it's good to know that because, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes we get frustrated and instead of just
Oops.
tossing that square,
Sorry, I'm going to grab this
no, you're good.
giant pair of scissors
Yeah.
over here because it's much easier for me to trim these corners off. And then I'll,
Perfect. I
Press
can come
'em.
around and press.
okay,
We'll just multitask here,
there
help
we
each
go.
other.
Yes.
There's one. And our last little one. And then we'll finish up these little snowballs.
All right, you want me to do that?
Sure, why not?
Okay, I will.
Okay.
All right, so I am just going to eyeball these. And then I think we have those corners. Do we want to stitch those on or just line them up?
These little corners?
Yeah, so
sides?
there's 2-inch by 3.5-inch strips
Rectangles that go on each
they're-
side?
Sorry, not corners, rectangles. You're correct.
It's okay. Yeah, so we'll finish these and then I think, yes, we'll go ahead and sew these to each side.
Okay.
once we get these pressed back.
Alrighty.
I'll just trim these right here.
Okay. All right.
Perfect. And then now I'll press these back. Perfect. And so what Natalie was talking about is we're going to take these background rectangles now and we will sew one to each side of these little star leg units that we made. So I'll let you go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Here's this stack, so you can just
Go right on
use
through.
them as you're ready.
Perfect. Oh. I had my foot pressing down, but I was not on the presser
Not on
foot.
on the presser foot. On the pedal, I guess.
Yes,
whatever.
that's what I meant, yes.
I do that same thing. Call it the wrong thing all the time.
Yep. Reminds me of when, in the early days, Mom would say, let's go to the ironing machine.
That's right, to the ironing machine. So cute.
It's so easy to get all those terms mixed up.
Yep.
And I don't want to have two pieces of fabric where there should only be one.
That's right. Double check.
I've done that before, though.
And now she can just flip those around and add the other rectangle since they're not intersecting in any way.
Yep, they don't hit each other.
It's been so fun with these blocks because so many of the steps really do lend themselves to chain piecing. And so even if you're making, all 8 blocks at once you have all your cutting done, you can sit and do all of that at one time and it makes it go really quickly.
It's satisfying.
It is.
Alrighty.
Beautiful. And I can press those if you want to get us started on
I will get us
next
started
step.
on our paper piecing is the
Okay.
next part. So we have all of these lovely pre-printed papers and we are ready to walk through this.
Yes.
So one of the things that we might find handy is our light board.
Okay.
Because that helps you to see through the paper when you flip it over because we're going to be working quite a bit from the back.
Perfect. So here's that.
All right, so we'll turn that on and we are going to flip this over so that the writing is facing the paper, unprinted side, and we're going to start with our fabric D square, which I believe is the yellow.
I think that's right.
And that gets pinned on facing us, right side up, and you want to put it over so that all of the edges cover the square that you can see on the other side. I don't know if you guys can see that really well. And then we're going to add the next piece. So each of these pieces that we're going to be stitching, let me flip it over. They're all numbered, and that number is the order that you add your fabric. So we'll start with number 1, then we'll add 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on as we go around. So we're going to start with number 1. We're going to lay this down facing us so that all of the edges of the number 1 square are covered. And then we're going to line up our next piece on top of that piece so that it also covers the square.
Do we have right sides together? Yeah, that one was hard to tell.
Yeah, because it's that shadow play, it
Yeah.
has this textured look.
Right.
But you do want to continue to keep your right sides together so that your seams are on the inside.
That's right.
So these line up just like that. And then if you want to, you can put a little pin in it to keep everything together. And you want your pin to sort of stay away from your seam. because then what you're going to do is flip this back over and you're going to stitch right on that first line that's between the first and second piece. That's always your first stitch.
Yep, exactly.
Now the other thing that you want to remember is to shorten your stitch length. And this helps so that when you tear the paper off, it doesn't rip through, it doesn't rip apart the seams, right?
It's just a more secure seam line, right? And since we're going to be tugging on it, you want to make sure you shorten it. So
right. So you're looking for about 12 stitches per inch, which typically is around 1.5 millimeters on your sewing machine for your stitch length.
Perfect. But yeah, you can test it out and just do a little bit of, you know, scratch fabric or something before you get to your block. So.
That's right. All right.
You want me to sew it?
If you'd like.
I'd love to. Why not?
Go ahead and do that one and shorten up our stitch length.
Yes, there we go.
Cool, cool.
Okay. So we're going to place the needle down right there. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I'm where I want to be. And then we will stitch to the end here. There we go. All right.
Okay, so now we've also included a piece of cardboard, which is handy for folding it back. Oops. So what we're gonna do is put this in here along that line, that seam that we just stitched, and we're gonna fold that back, putting this right up against it. You can make that little crease. We can take out our pin, and we're not gonna cut on our light board. But then what we're gonna do, and you can use your regular rotary cutter or you can use an add a quarter, but we are just gonna cut right along that edge so that we get a really nice, neat seam allowance. And ours is pretty close. We lined up pretty good this first one. But as you go through, you'll have lots more fabric that you're cutting off. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and press it. Now you can finger press or you can use your iron or a bamboo pressing tool, a creasing tool, whatever it is that you like
prefer.
to do.
Yeah.
So we've got that down. So now we're going to come back to our light board. I'm going to turn this back on so it's nice and bright. Oh, there we go. Because what we're going to do, so our next seam is going to be our number 3 square. That's what we're covering.
Okay.
And we're going to stitch on this line. So all we need to do is line that up with our next piece, and you can read through in the instructions. It tells you and shows pictures of which one comes next. So then this piece goes right along the edge. This is the seam that we're looking to stitch on. We're going to put these right sides together and make sure that that is covered. We can use a pin if we want to. As it gets bigger, it's not as necessary, I don't think, to use pins, because now I'm like, I understand what I'm doing.
You start to get the rhythm of it. Yeah.
Right. So then we're going to flip it over. We're going to stitch on this line between the 2 and the 3.
Okay.
And you can start and end whichever direction is comfortable for you. Yeah. And if that pin is in the way, you can take that out, especially once you get it to the machine.
Yeah, I think I am good.
Okay.
So then I'm just going to put that needle down. Whoops, a little too far. There we go. And we're just stitching right on that line.
Trying to go right to the edge. And I've found, honestly, it's okay if you go over a little bit because it's going to get caught in that next seam allowance. All right, so that looks like this. We're going to take our pin out. We're going to grab our little paper, and what we're going to do now is put that in here against the seam that we just stitched. And we're going to bend that back, and then we're going to trim our seam allowance again. So it's okay if it looks like you have a lot of seam allowance there. We're just going to keep trimming those off and keep it nice and tidy. Do a little 1/4 of an inch. And then you'll notice when we flip this back, it will have covered completely that piece that is this, the 3 piece right here. All right. And that's where obviously the light board comes in very handy because you can see through it. Are we dying here?
I think we must have died.
We died. That's okay. Alrighty. So this is ready now. Our next piece if we flip it back here, we're going to do number 4, and number 4 is our cream colored piece. We're going to do 2 of those.
One on each side.
Yep. So I'm going to pull these back so I can see exactly where my seam allowance is, and it is going that direction. So I want to make sure this lines up and covers that seam. It doesn't have to be too precise. We've got a lot of fabric to work here. Our pieces are quite large.
Are plenty big.
Yeah, I'm going to press this seam so it's nice and flat.
Okay.
Because I mean, you can finger press it. You can, whatever is comfortable for you, but all right. So now that we've got a good start on this, what I'm going to do is put away my light board for a minute, and I am going to line up my next seam right here. So we're going to be adding number 4 to our 3. I'm going to use my little cardboard here, fold this back, and I'm going to cut my seam allowance ahead of time. We're going to cut it so that we can then line up our next piece of fabric against it.
Yeah, it just gives us a guideline for where to put that next piece.
And then when I put this piece down, my little creamy yellow piece, I'm going to line that up just like that. Did I have a pin? Here it is.
There it is.
I'm going to stick that pin in just so it doesn't go anywhere, but nice and far enough away from that seam allowance. Then you flip it back over and you're stitching right on that line.
Okay, let's do it.
Perfect. Okay, excellent. So now we can press that the other way.
And we'll just do that same thing.
Over and over.
That's right.
Okay, so now we're going to do the other side, adding piece number 5 to this number 3 line. It's right along that edge. Trimming our seam allowance so that we can line our fabric up. Okay. So we've got that ready to go.
You can
nice
see it.
and clear. It's starting to build.
I love that.
Now we're going to add this piece here. And do you want the pin or are
I
you
think
good
I
without
can do
it?
it without.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll just flip that over. And again, she's going to stitch on the line between the 5 and the 3.
Yep.
And make sure that stays lined up. Did it stay?
I think it did.
Okay, perfect.
It looks like it did. All right, we're gonna try it. And if it didn't work, we'll use
There's lots of
pins.
space. I mean, we have, and we have extra fabric in case we
That's right.
make a little mistake. No worries.
Okay.
All righty.
We got it.
Perfect. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and fold that back.
Trim for the next round.
And it is time to add number 6, which is over here on this side. So I'm going to put my little cardboard template aligned with that seam. Press that back. And I will also mention, there are people who do foundation paper piecing without actually sewing through the paper.
It's true.
So at this step, they would trim this and then sew along this edge and not sew through the
Not
paper.
sew through the
That
paper.
is how that's done, just in case
Yeah.
you were wondering.
Should we try it on this one?
We can if you like.
Why not?
So we are adding next our green. I believe it is the shorter piece first time. Oops, only need one. So let's line that up, make sure it covers. I want to make sure that it covers the whole
piece.
the whole bottom. Okay, because I don't want to put it up too high.
Yeah.
So just like that. You can align it and then stitch right along the edge of the paper instead of stitching through it.
Yeah, I love this technique. This
Yeah.
is super fun.
A lot of people do that because it's almost like using a block ruler to make sure your seam
Right.
is perfect.
Exactly.
And really, it doesn't matter if you hit the paper. It's
No.
okay. You're still doing the same thing, right?
Okay. There we go.
There you go. But then you don't have the process of tearing that paper off later.
Exactly.
And you can reuse
Reuse your papers.
papers over and over. for a very long time.
Yep, it's super fun.
Okay, now we're going to flip it back over. We are going to align our 7 piece over here. Fold that back. We'll trim our beautiful little seam allowance ahead of time. And then we're going to add our green, the longer piece this time. And I'm going to use this as a way to eyeball it, line that up just like
edge.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I don't need the cardboard in here for this part.
That's all right.
There you go.
There we go.
So you can either stitch along the edge or you can flip it back and stitch right on the line. And I
Yep.
want to make sure it covers both of those points.
And
so
it does.
it's up to you.
Okay. We're gonna keep going this way.
Okay. We're getting really close, guys. We only have about 4 or 5 more seams here on this block. Well, let's see.
And I can remember when I
1,
first
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
when I first learned this technique and watched someone do it, I was like,
Mind blown.
mind blown.
Yes.
But once you start doing it and flipping it back and forth,
It's very repetitive.
it is. You're just repeating the same process over and over, and the precision you get is so worth it.
It's incredible.
It
And you
really
can make
is.
shapes that curve. You can do
Yes.
things that are so tiny
Yes.
that you're like, well, there's not even a seam allowance there.
Yes.
How is that done?
And that's why learning this technique is so wonderful, because it
very-
really opens up the possibilities you have in future quilts.
Very satisfying and a great skill to have in
Totally.
quilting. All right. So we've got these going here. Now we're going to flip it over. We just did our number 7. So we're on to 8, which is again a buttery yellow.
Perfect.
We'll line up this little piece here. I do love that we've included everything you need to
Yeah.
make this, to be successful
Yeah,
at
because
this.
that little piece of cardboard was in your kit as
Yeah,
well.
and
We didn't
I'll-
really talk about it at the beginning.
We
but
didn't, but it's a great tool to have.
Yes.
And all right, we are adding that yellow piece, which I believe is
I
this
think
nice
it's
long one.
both of those.
And it just has to cover, I want to make sure that it is as long as the seam. So I'm going to pull that down a bit.
Perfect.
There you go.
Alrighty.
You can stitch right along that edge.
We're rolling now.
Yeah, we are. So good, guys. We're foundation paper piecing.
I love it.
I do too.
Right, there we go.
All right. Okay. We're gonna flip it over because we're on number 9, and the line we're sewing here is the between the 9 and the 7.
Yep.
There we go. Fold that back. Use our little ruler to make a nice little 1/4 inch for us to line up with. And again, we're adding that yellow strip there. We want to make sure the bottom point gets covered. And you'll see if you look at the lines on this side, make sure that the fabric you have covers that whole seam.
Perfect.
And then we'll just line that up and stitch right through those 2 little fabrics.
We'll be ready to go.
We're rocking.
Okay.
Very cool. We'll set this seam. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but at this point, we are ready to add our 4 corners to this block.
That's right.
So it's in good shape. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go up here to our number 10 square. So we're going to flip this back. And this is where those blue squares that we cut into little triangles comes in. We'll go ahead and trim that off. And I believe that that is just simply for fabric efficiency.
Yeah, I think so too.
You can use a strip or whatever you prefer, but we've got these lovely triangles cut. So that gets lined up right there with that edge.
We have
And
plenty
I'm
of
just going to
overhang.
center it up.
Yep.
And then I'll give you this. So you can stitch along the edge, or you can, whoops,
It's okay.
or you can stitch on the paper if you want to. Line that up however you like.
Okay, you got it. There we go. Just like so. There's that one.
Gives us lots of good guidance.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I'm going to set my seam because I feel like that just helps everything to align.
Yep.
These make them the most precise blocks.
They really do. And
All
so
right.
we'll just keep adding the rest of the corners now in
That's
that
right.
same way.
So we're at number 11, going around the block. Trim off this excess.
Line up, fold, trim.
Yep. Yep. It's so satisfying though. It really is.
It really is.
Okay. So now we can place this along here. And then we can flip it back over and
Why don't we put a pin in this one, and I'll
Because
just
it
do
is-
also on the line just to show
Okay.
them one more time.
one more time.
Yeah.
Yep.
To do that method as well.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have said that
Excellent.
at the beginning.
Nope, you're totally fine. So we're going to line that up. We're going to stick this pin in it right here in the middle so it's not in the way of the seam. And then you'll flip it over and you'll stitch right on that line.
Yep. Either way, you're going to get the same result.
That's right.
So
On it or next to it.
that's right.
It gives you really good guidance either way.
There we go.
Okay. We'll take that pin out, set our seam, press it back. Then we'll flip that over. So now we are on number 12. And we are going to line that up with, line the cardboard up with the stitch line. Oh, we've got a little bit of, I'm just going to pull the paper out of that.
Yep.
So if you do stitch into the next block, all you do is just kind of peel the paper away
Yep.
because your seam is still going to be in the right place. And you can still, I'm going to use a little bit longer ruler this time because we're getting a bit bigger here.
Our block is growing.
It's growing, growing right up. Okay, so now that is trimmed. I'm going to flip it over. We will align this edge just like that. Put our little pin in it. And you
There
can
we go.
flip it over and sew on that line again.
Okay, perfect.
Or you can fold
I
your
was gonna
paper
say,
back
I-
and stitch along the edge. There's both ways work.
Yep, so this way you can see it under the needle, so it would be from your perspective. So you can either have this open, stitch right on that line, or we'll fold this back out of the way, and
And
again,
stitch right next to that
right
fold.
next to the fold.
It really depends what your comfort level is and
Exactly.
how you approach things.
That's exactly right. And either way, you're going to get the same beautiful result. There we go.
Excellent. You're very good at sewing.
Oh, well, I've had a little bit of practice, as have you.
That's right.
But we enjoy it. Thank you. That's very sweet.
All right, this is our final seam on this little
gosh, it's
paper
so
pieced
cute.
unit here. So we're on our 13th piece or our 13th seam. I'm not sure what it is, but it's there. We'll trim this seam allowance. We'll flip this over. We're going to add this little piece of fabric, our final piece. Put a little pin in it.
Beautiful.
This is such a straightforward foundation paper piece because you really are doing left, right, left, right.
Right.
And it grows and it's beautiful, but it gives us such a good opportunity to learn.
I agree.
And practice.
Okay.
So there you go.
Beautiful.
Ready for ya.
Right.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and trim after we press this back.
I feel like you need to hold that up just one time for
Before
everybody.
we do,
It's just so
before we
cute.
finish it. Yes.
Look at that.
It is so good. So hopefully you guys have all accomplished a foundation paper piecing block with us.
That's
it's
right.
so great.
It's so adorable.
All right, so the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna trim this block along the outside edge, and it will measure 6.5, and then we will add it to the pieces that we machine pieced ahead of time.
Yep.
And we will be ready to finish these blocks. And you don't wanna remove your papers just yet. Unless, of course, you didn't actually
Sew through them.
sew through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would still trim this to the 6.5 inch measurement.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing both of those methods, because when I figured out you could do this without stitching through the paper and having to peel it all off, I was
There's
like,
so many,
Yeah.
there are so many methods and hacks that get you from point A to point B.
Exactly.
And it's great to know all of them and then find the one that is comfortable for you, that you enjoy doing. And
because either way
you run
is
with
the right
it.
way.
Awesome. Look at that.
So beautiful.
We did it. We have
so
our
cute.
very first block. You're going to make 4 of these. So now let's go ahead and build around it. You'll want to leave your paper attached if you have sewn through the papers, because tearing it off is easier when you've got all of your other seams intact as well.
That's right.
It helps keep everything together.
Especially with these little outside corners, you don't want things to
Yeah,
shift
you don't
as
want,
you're
and you don't want it
tugging.
to like stretch and get kind of out of shape.
That's right.
All right. So we're going to align our 4 patches out here facing colors to the center. You'll add your little points. Just like this, everything should match up. We're gonna stitch our block together. It's a little bit of an uneven 9 patch at this point.
Yep.
And all 4 blocks end up looking like this, and you have done foundation paper piecing.
It's so beautiful, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I like I said earlier, it's just such a great skill to add to your quilting repertoire.
So they go up here in our corners.
Yep.
Got one here and
out
there,
here.
and then down in the 2 bottom corners.
And now we have all the blocks for our whole middle section.
Yes, we've made it so far. So we
right.
are going to set these aside with the rest of our blocks until month 9.
That's right.
And next month, month 6,
We will start on our
we're
border
starting
blocks.
our border blocks. And you guys, this border is so great because it looks a little bit complicated, but really it's just 2 simple blocks. So I love it. It's going to be awesome.
I love it too. It's so fun.
All right. Don't forget to join us on our Facebook group and hang out, share your pictures, tag each other, comment on each other's stuff, encourage each other, and ask questions if you have them.
That's
but we'll
right.
be there to support you, and we'll see you next month.
Yep, we'll see you in month 7.